Live? Oh my God. I guess
We
so.
are. Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah, let's do this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Storytelling Chronicles. I'm your host, the Bodacious Cowboy. Let's get this story started. Say what?
Look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Downtown. Oh, they don't know. Downtown. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up.
Hello, everyone. I am the Bodacious Cowboy. Welcome to another new season of the Storytelling Chronicles. I couldn't start this year off without having a really good friend, a fantastic guest. I have been on his show probably every single week, most of last year. Let's bring him in, Mr. Trey Griggs. Trey, my
What's up,
friend,
Jeff?
how are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. We had such a big year last year. Your show has been booming. You put so much work into it. Tell everybody out there who doesn't know who Trey Griggs is a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, what you're referring to, I'm the host of the Word on the Street live show every Friday at noon on YouTube and other outlets as well. I'm the founder and chief encouragement officer of Beta Consulting Group, a company dedicated to building the brands of companies within the transportation space, focusing primarily on messaging and testimonials, as well as a few other things as well. And then I'm a husband, father, an addicted golfer, and somebody who loves to travel and remodel homes. So like to do a lot of different things. I tend to be a jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy, and I love it that way.
Remodel homes. That's a new one. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, I used to have a company about 6 years ago with two of my buddies here in St. Louis. We started a company called Beta Homes. That was actually the name of that back then. I've been on this beta kick for a while, and we would, buy distressed properties and then fix them up. And one of the skills that I realized that I had, Jeff, which also parlays into business as well, is really the ability to have vision. So I could walk into a distressed property and I could see what it could be well before we ever started digging into the walls and making changes. I started that with my own personal homes, did that with homes back then. Couldn't figure out how to make it full time. Didn't have a lot of business savvy at that time, but I loved the work, and I've remodeled 3 or 4 of our homes.
Wow.
I do most of the work. A couple things I don't do, but I do most of the work. But I really love the strategy and the vision behind it. And so it was a fun run to do that. I miss that.
So adding to your resume, carpenter.
a bit amateur carpenter. I think amateur carpentry, amateur electrician, amateur plumber, all very much amateur, but definitely learned a lot of skills over the years.
All learn as you go approach, right?
Absolutely. You either succeed or you learn. Those are the 2 options.
And you pay a price for that, right?
You do,
Sometimes.
but sometimes it's an expensive price. I've had very good mentors, though. I've had a lot of people in my life that knew how to do it, and I simply just asked them to come and teach me how to do it. For example, my brother-in-law is an electrician, and so he did a lot of our wiring for a long time. But over time, as I did it with him, I started to learn enough to be a little dangerous, and I've only shocked myself a couple of times, and thankfully, no problems.
Yeah, it's a great segue, Trey, because you said, you relied on a lot of people, and it's the people who are in your inner circle that either going to make you and break you. And as we enter into 2024, it's going to be a struggle. I think everybody out there, the audience that's watching us, you and I would agree that it's not going to be an easy go at it, is it?
No, the market doesn't flip the switch like the turn of a new year. 2023 was very difficult in our industry and in general. It's probably going to continue for a little bit. There's some signs that maybe Q2, Q3 things might turn a little bit, and hopefully that is the case. But I'll tell you what, Jeff. One thing I've learned too is the market doesn't dictate your success. I've seen it happen multiple times now where some of my best years personally and my best years in business were not a part of the market. And some of my worst years were not a part of the market when the market was really great. But I didn't have some of my best years then. And a lot of it almost all of it had to do with me and the kind of person that I was, how I was developing, the skills I was learning. Because I think that, in any market, if you have the right approach and the right, skill set and the right attitude, you can win in a down market. It's just different. It's just harder. You have to change your course. Sometimes you have to, figure out where you need to pivot and make a change, but there's always winners and losers in every market.
Yes. And so here's a difficult question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer or not, but how does one create the mindset needed to succeed?
I mean, it all has to do with what you're putting into your mind. Our brains are really a computer. I mean, that's kind of the simplest way
Sure.
to put it. And so what programming are you putting into your brain? And, the difference between our brains and a typical computer is that our brains are constantly being fed new information that can dictate the way that we think. And so we have to constantly be monitoring what's going into our brain. It's not like a computer program where you download the program one time and it runs.
Right.
It's more like going to the gym. You can go to the gym once and you can learn a lot about lifting the weights and the things you need to do. But if you don't consistently go to the gym, it's not going to make any difference in your life. I think it's the same way with being successful. You need to be reading books, listening to podcasts, talking to other entrepreneurs or people that have been down the road that you're trying to walk. I really think that those are the keys to success, is surrounding yourself with people and information that can give you the programming that your brain really needs to be successful, to achieve in those ways. And then I think the other part of it too is accountability and not being afraid to talk about what your goals are and sharing those. Because the moment that you put a goal out there, it's kind of on you to do it. And so, there's no turning back at that point. So not only is it what you're putting into your brain, but it's also what you're willing to say, what you're willing to tell people.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And one of the major factors is knowing when you're wrong. So many people out there, and again, I think you're going to agree with this statement, is that they're afraid of fear. They're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid to say when they're wrong. So they say things that they don't mean to say it, to keep the conversation going when it's either not relatable to the subject, or they say, hey, you know what? I don't know. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and find out that for you, and I'll get back to you. Why do people do that? What are your thoughts on why people are afraid to really say the way that they think, or they don't know, or know?
I think that we're taught from an early age that it is weak to admit when you're wrong or to admit that you don't know something. I think that we're taught in school that not knowing something or failing is bad. And I think it's a lack of self-awareness as well. And also just an understanding that failure or being wrong or not knowing something is not the problem. It's actually the ignorance and the willingness not to learn that's the problem, or lack of curiosity. It's embarrassing to admit that you're wrong or to admit that you don't know something. And I think that people really struggle with that because we care about what people think about us. Sometimes we're people pleasers. I think a lot of it has to do with how we were raised, what our parents taught us, what our teachers taught us. Again, it's the programming. And in that case, I'm actually writing a book about this right now, about self-awareness, because I think that people don't understand why they are the way that they are. I think a lot of people struggle with that. And the majority of who you are as an adult actually comes to you before the age of 13. That's what the science tells us.
Yes.
So your parents teach you a lot of things. They give you an influence. They allow people into your life. They decide what sports you're going to play, what school you're going to go to, what movies you're going to watch, what music you're going to listen to, who's going to be allowed into your house and influence your life. You don't have any say over that. Your parents do. But as an adult, you have to learn how to live with that. And I think that's the lack of self-awareness, that people don't really understand like who they are or why they do the things that they do. And once you start to realize that and start to find out, who you are, and understand that the root person that I am is really not my fault, who I am. The person I become, that's my responsibility. But the person that I am from childhood is not my fault. And when you start to understand that and take responsibility for what you can do and accept the things that came into your life that weren't your choices, I feel like it opens you up to be more transparent, to let go of that concern that other people have for you. For me, it's given me a deeper sense of empathy for other people, and hopefully encourage them to be willing to share when they're wrong. I think big part of it is, how do we, as the recipient of somebody admitting they're wrong, how do we respond? How do we encourage that type of behavior and that type of attitude? I think we're just taught that that's just not good. It's just weak. And unfortunately, I think it's the opposite. I think being able to admit when you're wrong, or to admit when you don't know something, is actually a strength.
It is. I was just about to say that. Absolutely.
Let me share one little tidbit if I could. I heard
Yeah.
Simon Sinek talk about this. Simon Sinek is an author and a motivational speaker and a consultant, and he works with a lot of people on leadership, a lot of companies on leadership. He shared a story one time that he was in a boardroom with, 10 other executives sitting around a table, and they're talking about things. And as they were talking, he realized he didn't understand what they were talking about. And he could have just not said anything because of the fear of being the only person in the room that didn't understand. But he had learned that it's important to ask questions when you don't understand, and it doesn't matter what people think, you need to ask questions. And so he raised his hand and said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're talking about. Can you explain this, in a way that helps me understand it better? And because he was willing to do that, other executives around the room were willing to say, I don't understand this either.
Right.
And then they were able to come to a moment of truth in that room, and everybody was better off as a result of it, but only because one person was willing to say, I don't understand this. I don't get this.
Yeah,
and I think that we're taught that we need to pretend like we understand, even when we don't.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that you are who you are in the stimulus that surrounds you. If you don't have that inner circle of people who are positive, that have that mindset to succeed,
Yeah, it definitely hurts you. That's for sure. And Jeff, I'm not sure if you froze, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going.
Yeah. No, we're here, right? Right.
Yeah, we're here. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, we're here. But you hear it said before, and I think there's a lot of truth in this. The person that you become is a direct reflection of the people you surround yourself with and the information that you consume, the books you read, the podcast, whatever it is. Like, it's a combination of those two things. So if you're around people who can help you get where you need to go, and you're constantly putting information into your mind that's going to help you grow, learn new things, then that determines who you become. That's you taking responsibility for the future that you want to create. And it really starts with the influences that you allow in your life.
Yeah. And that's a difficult thing, when you're growing up with friends, and it could even be business partners, that you've known for years, but they're not really in your space helping you to grow, and you have to separate yourself from them. It's like the best thing that you have to do in order to move forward, in a positive direction. Some people just can't do it. They just can't release those people, no matter how long they've been, engaged with them, friends with them, etc. Why can't people do that? I mean, it's so relevant in the space in which we work, right?
Yeah.
You need to do that. You need to choose wisely. I mean, let's face it, Trey, every single day, there's only two paths that you can take. And we make thousands of decisions every single day. And the two decisions that we make, it's either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. There is no other decision. And when we choose that path, and a lot of people follow other people's, there's followers, there's leaders that go down paths that bring their own sickle. They want to pave their own path. They want to find different things out, where other people's goes down, another path that's really not really worth traveling. I don't understand why people choose to go down those paths when it leads to a dead end. I mean, why can't they figure this out? I try to help people out every single day by giving them, experiences and knowledge and things that, I've witnessed and gone through. I'm not expecting them to follow my lead, but at least to open up their mind and have something that's thought provoking, that would be like, I never thought of that. But some people just can't change.
Well, specifically to answer your question about, removing the people in your life that aren't helping you move forward, as the classic oldie song says, breaking up is hard to do. Like, it's conflict, it's change, it's the unknown. Although I heard this analogy recently, and I'll share it. I thought it was really good. He said that you need to think of the people in your life as a tree. And he said, some people are leaves, they come for a season. They're there for a short time, and then they move on and they're gone.
Right.
Some people are branches. They're a little more connected. You can depend on them a little bit more, but at the same time, you rely on them too much. You go too far out on that branch, and they might let you down. Some people are roots, and they're the ones that are not going anywhere, and they're going to be there for the long haul, and they're holding you up. Those types of things. It's important that you focus on who the root people are. And understand that some people are going to come and go for seasons, and some people are, dependable, but not completely dependable. And just understand that, and they're humans. And so finding those people who are the roots in your life and your tree, to follow the analogy, is really important, and being willing to walk away from those that are maybe there for a season, or who aren't actually very helpful. But I think it's conflict. I think it's change. I think those things are difficult, and it takes practice. You have to be willing to make those changes, or to simply walk away. But again, that's a difficult thing to do.
It is. It's very difficult. I mean, I started shredding a lot of my old friends, or I would say acquaintances, and it was something that I needed to do. I needed to shrink that inner circle so I can be more of myself, if that makes any sense. We all live our lives. We live it for our family. We live it for some of our friends. But most importantly, we have to be happy inside in order to promote that positivity and not shed that, and show that negativity that surrounds us every single day. That's why we try to do that. We try to, to shrink that inner circle, so we have a more positive outlook on life. And it's so difficult, Trey. It really is. It's very, very difficult. And that comes even with business, going into 2024 and marketing your business and doing it right in order to succeed in 2024. A lot of changes needs to happen. And that's why we're talking about changes in our personal development, and helping others to be more than who they are. What do people need to do in 2024 on a personal level and on a business level in order to succeed? We've got winds of change. There's a lot of chatter about climate change, which we're going to show a lot of disruptions. What needs to take place in order to get over those obstacles and break through those barriers in order to be successful in 2024?
Man, that's a big, hairy question, man. I don't know the answer to that, but I'll tell you this: if you're an individual, I think something that's always good, and something I've been doing recently that's been very helpful, is to take some time to pause and reflect. Try to stop for just a moment. I think when you get in a rat race and you're just going, you don't stop and slow down. It's really hard to evaluate. It's hard to assess where you are. And that allows you to course correct, make some changes, those types of things. I do like the new year for that. I think it's a natural time to do it. It's almost like the beginning of school. It's a natural time for change to happen, because people are changing their schedules with school and things like that. So I like taking advantage of that time. And something that I did, recently, about a week and a half ago, is I took some time just to myself. And I really thought through what worked in 2023 and what didn't work in 2023. And each year I try to look ahead at what I'm trying to accomplish individually, and for our family and for our business. But I try to come up with one word that really captures where I'm headed. And I would encourage people to do that, to try to think of something that can galvanize their thoughts, and something they can hold on to for the year. And maybe they only hold on to for 6 months and they do it again, because things don't always last for a year. That's just an arbitrary number that we put out there. But coming up with a way to really focus on what are we trying to accomplish here, and move the ball forward in that regard, and set some specific markers, some specific objectives to try to accomplish that. I think that's really helpful from an individual standpoint. And if you're a business owner, it automatically impacts your business, because your business often runs at the speed at which you are able to change and adapt and grow. So I think, starting individually, that's really important to do that. Just take some time to reflect. And even if you haven't done it yet, I mean, it's January 8th here today. It's not too late. You can do this any time of the year. You can do this anytime, but it just requires you to stop, take stock, be honest with yourself about what you're doing, what's working, what's not. We like to do this activity at Beta Consulting Group, which is a start, stop, and change. So what do we want to start? What do we want to stop? And what do we want to change? And I think it's really important to think about that personally. Like, what should I stop doing in my life? What should I start doing in my life? And where do things need to change? It's a great activity to really think through that and help you out. And then, like I said, I came up with one word for 2024 that all my thoughts are focused on that.
Transformation.
Transform. That's right. My word is transform. And that goes for myself. It goes for our family. It goes for our business, and it goes for our clients. We're working really hard to help our clients transform their brands into known and trusted brands. And that doesn't happen overnight. So everything that we do is all about transform here in 2024. That's the word that we're focusing on.
Yeah, and my word for 2024 is change. It's funny how they interact, change, transform. And the reason is it's that I'm happy where I was in 2023. I had a very good year, and I'm blessed and I'm very, very fortunate. But just because you were good and had a good year, it doesn't mean you need to stay put where you're at. You're going to get lost if you do that. You always got to recreate, redevelop, look at it, take a piece of paper, write down the pros and the cons. What did you like? What didn't you like? To your point, what are you going to transform? How are you going to change it? How are you going to make it better than the previous year? And make it realistic. I think it's the SMART technique, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time consuming. How can you take that SMART approach and adapt it to not just your business life, but also your personal life? Because what reflects in your personal life may come into your business. And then likewise, you might have a bad day. You got to be able to separate that. There's going to be a lot of bad days in 2024 as predictors are predicting. So how are you going to be able to separate that business life and your personal life so that, you can live a happy life? A lot of people are going to have a lot of big problems doing that, Trey. A lot,
I think it starts with mindset again. It just comes back to how you approach life. I read something recently that said that don't pursue happiness, pursue excellence, pursue being great at whatever you're doing. So pursue being a great dad, pursue being a great mom, pursue being a great spouse, pursue being a great leader if you're leading people, pursue being a great employee. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever hobbies you have, if you're, I sing barbershop music, so I'm going to pursue being a great singer this year. Like when you do those things, the happiness catches up with you. And so I think it's just the mindset and the attitude of how you approach that. And I think that there's an integration of business and personal, and there's a separation. Certainly we're the same person. I'm one person that is taking care of a family and also taking care of a business and clients. So there's a lot of crossover there, but then there's also some separation. One of the things I'm trying really hard to do in 2024, and I need everybody to keep me accountable for this, is I'm really trying to shut it off when I'm with family. So we made a decision as a family that we have a charging station in our living room area. We got this separate little corner where we charge phones and charge computers and things like that. And we made the decision that at night, we're going to put all of our phones over there and charge them and just leave them there. We're not going to have them at the dinner table. We're not going to have them when we go to bed. Wow. We're not going to have them when we get up from sleeping throughout the night. They're there for a reason. We'll use them during the day. We'll use them at night whenever we need to, but we have a plan to get rid of them and set them aside. And so each day we're going to unplug a little bit. I know we're going to take a vacation the first 2 weeks of June, and the goal is to unplug again. I'll tell you this, Jeff, we went to New York over Christmas break. From December 23rd to January 1st, I didn't touch my computer for work, not once. And in fact, when we went to New York for 4 days, I didn't take my computer. And that's the first time maybe ever on a vacation, I didn't even take my computer. I just had my phone. And I mean, it just forced me to be present and to be unplugged a little bit. And we had a great trip. We had a great time, a lot of memories, a lot of dedicated time, a lot of conversations, a lot of, shared experiences. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard because
I'm sure,
you want to be involved in your business and you kind of feel like you're losing ground. But at the same time, I know with my kids being where they are, especially, and any kids in general, 16 and 14 is how old my kids are. I'm not getting that time back. This season that we're in is going to end here in the next 3 to 4 years of our kind of family the way it is right now. And I'm just not going to get the time back. I know in 4 years I can go a little harder at work. I know that. I've got to be able to separate and make sure that my family knows that they're more important than anything right now. And that usually comes with time and attention.
I couldn't agree with you more. And my integrity and honesty is first and foremost. And I'm not afraid to say this, because if I could, like I said at the beginning of the show, Trey, if I could help out one person, I've done my job, and I was a bad dad. I was, and I'm just going to be very frank. I put everything into my job, everything. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to be the best that I possibly could at what I did, and my family suffered from it. I wasn't there for a lot of the stuff that my daughter went through. I was away
Mm.
weeks and weeks on end, every single weekend, starting up new operations and 4PLs and 3PLs and just the whole thing. And I lost focus. I really did, Trey. I lost focus. And you're right, you can't get it back. And no matter how much you cry, how much you get upset and bring yourself down, you're not going to get it back. So I
Yeah.
got into this laser focus thing is how can I work smarter, not harder, and still compete and do better than I ever did before. And I'm learning it and I'm doing it. And I have a lot of free time. And I'm probably in one of the best places in my whole career. And I started in 1980 than I could even imagine because of the refocusing, of what's real and what's not, what's controllable, what's not, what to focus on, what not. I mean, there's just so many different things that people can do, you know, to save themselves, to make themselves a better person. And I sucked at it. I really did. And if I leave anybody with any advice, that would be it, man. Put your family first, not your business. They're not going to, your family's not going to remember what you did in business. They don't
Yeah.
give a crap about that. They really don't. It's like, what did you do as a provider, as a husband, as a wife, as a child? What legacy are you going to leave behind? I'm not going to have much as one. I'll be honest, because it's just, I lost it. I did.
Yeah.
Sad.
Jeff, I appreciate that transparency. I think that more, especially like dad and men, like more working age men, age 30 and 40, need to hear that, because the last thing you want to do is get through that time period and look back and go, man, I wish I could take it back. I mean, there's certainly things I wish I could do differently, for sure. I'm very thankful that I have influences like you in my life that are reminding me that, hey, this is more important. I mean, business is important, but it's means to an end. It's means to an end. It's not the end itself. At the
No,
end of your life, when you're on your deathbed or when you're having family reunions and you've got all the family around, nobody's going to care about what you did in business. They're just not going to care. They're going to care that you provided, and they're going to care that all those things happened, but they're also going to care that you were there, that you were present, that you were helpful, that you answered the phone when they had problems, that you drove and helped them when they, broke down the side of the road or had a boyfriend or girlfriend break up with them, or, those moments in life. Like, they're going to care about that more than what you did in business. And I think it's just trying to keep that in perspective. That, yeah, business is important. This is means to an end, though. This is how I provide for my family, and this is how I help other people. That's what it is. But my family has to come first, which, there's some business people that just don't see it that way. And unfortunately, I think a lot of them are going to regret that perspective later in life, unfortunately.
yeah, it is unfortunate, and it's one thing that I really hate. And when I hear it, I kind of cringe, because I was them at that time, and I hate the culture, and it's the hustle culture. I despise it, because that's the problem that you're going to get into if you've got that mindset of hustle, because that's what you become. You become a hustler. You become strictly focused on business and the other things around you. It's money driven. It's greed. It's being well known. It's all these kind of stuff that's, when it comes down to, it's relevant but irrelevant, because it really doesn't mean much. There's ways of doing business by working smarter, not harder, like I said before, that will enable you to do much more with less time. If you just try to refigure what you're doing. To your point, Trey, you said it about earlier, you talk about transformation, you talk about change, you talk about how are you going to progress as a human being and being better than who you once were. You've got to be able to sit down, take that me time, and write all those things down, because it's important for you to see it and understand why you are who you are. And your best friends, the people that will agree to disagree, those are all the best people you want in your life. They're going to help you to move forward. They're not going to make you try to get you to, digress and be what you used to be. No, they don't want you. They want to see you transform to be a better person. That's what I try to do, man. I do. I fail a lot of times on it, but like I said, if just one person, if I just got it into their head, make them understand that it's so important to me. It really is.
Yeah, no, that's a good reminder. That's a good reminder. There's just a lot of things you're just not going to get to take back or change. Some of these seasons in life, they're only here for a time, and you only get one shot at it. I think that's something I'm learning too. You get one crack at this thing, the different seasons of life. You get one crack at most of them. A lot of times you don't get that season back.
Yep. And, and I say this all the time, when it comes to Judgment Day and either you go upstairs or you get a little warm, you want to go in there and be forgiven and being able, to say the truth and where you failed and ask for, forgiveness and stuff like that. I mean, it's so important in your life. And sometimes people just, again, lose focus. Even, whatever religion that you're into, it's so important that, you bring that source, whomever it may be, into your life so that you can reflect and talk to somebody internally more than anything else. What did I do good today? How can I do better? And how can I make people live a better life tomorrow and moving forward? So I appreciate you coming on board there, Trey. It was a great conversation always. I'd love to have you come back on. I'm going to see you soon. We got the Broker Carrier Summit that's coming up in April the 22nd and the 24th. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. In my hometown of Kansas City, which is pretty cool. I grew up not too far from where the event's going to happen, and my parents still live there. So it'd be great to be back there. But what's really amazing about this event, I wasn't a part of the first one in Indianapolis last April. I was a part of the event in Tampa. It was my first one, and I really didn't know what to expect. And what was amazing to me was the conversations that happened, the authentic conversations that happened around the challenges that people were facing, whichever side of the coin they were on. If they were a broker, the challenge they were facing with carriers, and that they were a carrier, the challenges they faced with brokers, and to see a lot of common ground be reached was awesome to see. I'll tell you what also was really exciting was to see not only the sponsors that supported the event, but what they got out of it, because they got to, one of the differences with this event is that it's unlike any other event that you go to. We don't have booths and demos and those types of things for sponsors. That's not what we're there. We want the sponsors. We want to shine light on their company. That's obviously a big part of it. But what we asked them to do is to be a part of the event, to get fully infiltrated in the sessions and lunches and everything, and just sit at tables and listen and have conversations and build relationships. And, what was crazy was some of the sponsors afterwards said, we got more quality leads from that event than any other event that we went to in the year. And there was no booth, there was no demo, and so some of the ways that trade shows have been running and what they've been offering sponsors, to me, it seems just like almost like, just fluff in a way. The real meat was getting to sit in those sessions and have conversations and listen to brokers and carriers, what they need, build relationships, have conversations. We do everything different. We do a 2-hour lunch, which seems crazy because at these events, they're trying to pack so much in. We do a 2-hour lunch because we intentionally want people to have time to talk and not rush.
Yep.
And so the whole thing is just different. It's built on relationships. It's much more conversation and less presentation. And everybody wins in the end. And that was what we saw in Tampa. That's what we're going to see again in Kansas City. I'm excited about that, and looking forward to seeing if we can hit that 750 mark. So Bane and I have to shave some stuff off.
1,000, man. That's what I want. I want 1,000. It's so funny.
Well, of course.
When I looked at it, that first night at the reception, it was so funny. You had brokers on one side of the room, you had carriers on the other side of the room. Cocktails started flowing. People started feeling a little loose. Next thing you know, everybody was mingling and having really concrete conversations. The concerns and the problems. It seems like they were trying to work it out and talk to each other about how can we be better as a whole in the industry to help each other out. And that was the biggest takeaway for me, listening, and you heard it too. I mean, just that takeaway of brokers and carriers saying, that was a really good event. It was unlike anything else that I've ever attended before.
Yeah.
And new relationships and partnerships and friendships, were forged from that. And even for myself, a lady that my wife and I were talking to outside, make a long story short, I hired her, just by sitting there and having conversation, and listening to her and her mindset and everything. I said, you know what, she would be really, really good in my business. And those things happen. They happen. So, everybody out there, go to the website, the broker.
Yeah, brokercarriersummit.com website, that's for sure. And I'll just throw this in there as well. Jeff, is when you go to any other event
website, Kansas.
Yeah, let me throw this out there. When you go to any other event, you feel like you're attending an event. When you go to the Broker Carrier Summit, you feel like you are the event, like you're an integral part of the event. And that's just a big difference. And it's very, very exciting, very reasonable in terms of attendance. Kansas City is a very reasonable cost, town. It's a hidden gem. It's kind of a
best barbecue in the country.
Best barbecue in the country, 100%. Anybody in Texas, don't at me. I'm just saying. Best barbecue in the country. Jack Stack, by the way, I'll just give this little hint out there. Yeah. If you do come to Kansas City, when you get there, you got to go try some of the barbecue joints that are there. Q39 is a very good establishment. But the best one, in my opinion, is Jack Stack. And the original Jack Stack is out in Martin City. And so if you go to that one, you can kind of get the real feel for the original. They got a big hickory smoke pit there. But all the Jack Stacks are great. They got an incredible burnt ends sandwich and platter. Great. They got IBC root beer. Their jalapeno cornbread is second to none.
Yeah. So listen, go to the website, Carrier Broker Summit, Kansas City.
BrokerCarrierSummit.com.
BrokerCarrierSummit.com. Thank you.
Right.
And, check out the agenda, register. Also, I'll give you another 5% discount if you use code Cowboy1. So head on over there, check it out.
Early bird pricing until the end of the month, plus your 5% discount. We're stacking coupons at the Broker Carrier Summit, everybody.
Absolutely. So, Trey, thank you so much, man. I will talk to you soon. Bodacious Cowboy out.
Hey,
have a great week,
buddy.
guys. Thank you.